everybody, it's CJ, and today we need to talk about something because gifted child culture is really toxic. So, the first thing that really bothers me is the term gifted child implies that kids without that label are not talented and are not valuable, which is absolutely false because being a gifted child is mostly about how well you take standardized tests. At least at my school, it was the COGAT. But either way, it's like even IQ, which is what most of these tests are based off of, isn't really the only way to measure intelligence. And there are other traits that are really, really valuable that no test can measure. No test can really measure if you're empathetic or if you're kind to others. Like, that's just not how tests work. So the presence of gifted kids that are in the gifted program because they took a standardized test and did really well on it implies that kids who are not good at standardized tests are less valuable, which is just dumb because everyone's very valuable, everyone has their own unique skills and talents. So then it also makes the gifted kids feel really bad if they are no longer gifted, which I think this kind of leads to a lot of the breakdowns of gifted children where you're told that you're smart your entire life and then one day it hits you like a ton of bricks that maybe you're not that smart. And because you're most often separated into a different class full of gifted kids, the threshold for feeling not so smart is lowered a lot. Basically, if you do anything aside from get top marks, someone else did better than you, you become very competitive with not only other people, but also yourself. You become your own worst enemy. You put expectations on yourself that no one else is putting on you. You set these ridiculous expectations for yourself that you have to be perfect, and then when you fail to live up to them, well, either you end up with two main categories. Either you have the honors kids that go crazy because they try and do way too much, or you have the honors kids that feel like they're not living up to their potential because they valued their mental health over academics. You just set up these ridiculous expectations for yourself, or just feel peer pressure from people who aren't even trying. Like, they're just doing their best. It's like a lot of my friends are in like full honors, and it's like, I feel like I should be doing that, but also I'd be miserable. But that doesn't matter because brain being messed up from being told that I'm smart in elementary school, you get very scared of failing and very scared of just not being good at something right at the beginning. You just set up these ridiculous expectations. You get very scared of failure. It really changes your identity. Like, at least if you're like me, like, I didn't really have anything else. Like, my thing was that I was smart. It's like I didn't really have hobbies, I didn't play any sports, but like I'm good at school. And then if that gets taken away from you, even gradually it kind of messes with your head a bit. Like, I still very much identify with school, even though I don't care about it as much. It's a lower. It used to be a top priority, and now it's kind of like the minimum in order to do as well as I want to do, which means I am not taking the hardest classes I possibly can. I'm just kind of taking reasonable classes, and I'm trying not to do smart kid stuff that I'm told to do for no apparent reason. Like, I did Calc AB instead of Calc BC because I'm like, Calc AB is probably going to be less stressful. So those kind of switches, but that really messes with your identity. And I didn't really have any hobbies until recently. Like, I think YouTube has been one of my longest running hobbies because I tend to drop stuff really quickly. I've always like wanted to have a hobby. I've never been good at having a hobby. But anyway, getting into these programs is mostly based on your parents. Like, it's mostly based on A, how educated your parents are, and B, how much time they have to dedicate to teaching you these things before the school system gets around to it. And this is absolutely nothing against either like less educated parents or lower income parents, or parents that just don't have the time. The main cause for that is usually lower income where both parents have to work. Like, no hate towards that because like they're doing their best, and the point of the school system is to teach kids. But for a kid to be honors in elementary school, a lot of that is just based off of like if your parents were teaching you stuff before school, then you're gonna look a lot smarter when you learn it in school and already know it. So it's really just about your parents and like whether they have the time and education to teach you stuff before the school system does. And that continues to help you out for a long time. The other thing is on how it like messes you up in your head. So you're basically handed this identity when you're young, and they tell you you're special because you don't quite understand it at the time. But they just tell you you're special, and they put you in a class with a bunch of other smart kids, and then you don't feel smart anymore because you're just kind of like average in that class. But I think adaptive classes are actually a really smart thing because otherwise I would have been bored out of my mind. But you get so normalized to really high scores and being really smart people that you cannot accurately evaluate yourself whatsoever. It's still very isolating. Of like in like at my school very much values academics. It's kind of its own culture thing. But it's like most of my friends are like insane. Like pretty much all my school friends are like insanely smart. And doing lots of honors classes, and I feel bad they're not doing all those honors classes, even though it's like we have different life goals, we have different college situations. Like it's like don't compare yourself to others, but you still do. And eventually, as a big fish, you kind of get thrown into a big pond, and you're like, I am not smart. And there is such a pressure to not fail because your entire identity is based on I am smart. So there's this weird feeling because everyone tells you your entire life that you have potential. You're going to be amazing. You're going to do so many great things. Which, by the way, people, like, I basically like, peaked in elementary school. Like, people are just like, you'll do so many amazing things. And then you feel like you're a disappointment and you're wasting your potential, or that you've already wasted your potential by the time you get to, like, high school. My advice to any of you, if you were labeled as a gifted kid, if you're like me and you're struggling with kind of realizing that you've kind of fallen into the normal category, you're special, but not because of your academics. Everyone's special. Everyone is amazing and has their own skills. And if you think you don't, then either you're lying, you have low self-esteem, or you just haven't found your thing yet, and that's okay. But everyone's special. Academics don't really matter. It's what you do with it, and you have permission to fail. You have permission to ask questions. You have permission to look stupid. Trust me, your academic career will get a lot easier if you just swallow your pride and accept that sometimes you gotta ask a stupid question. But, like, you have permission to fail. You have permission to pursue your own dreams. You don't have to live up to well, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer because you're smart. It's okay. And it's okay to no longer hold that label of smart. You can let it go at any time, and it's okay. And try and find something else to base your identity off of. You have permission to fail. You are special and wonderful just the way you are. Please don't take this as advice to drop out of school because it's not. Do your best, but it's okay if your best is not perfect. Bye!